Welcome back to the TriFecta Airsoft podcast. I'm your host, E-Rock. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you never miss another podcast. Also, do me a favor. Go on to whatever podcast app you listen to us on and give us a rating and review. That really helps us rank in the searches. Thank you so much. Let's get into the podcast. Well, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks. Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, awesome. So we have Bacon and
Craig.
Okay. Do you have a call sign?
Not really, just Craig. Or my last name, Embro.
Call sign Craig. All right.
Yeah. Or Embro, yeah.
Embro, I gotcha. You guys are both in Canada and do a lot of sniping, have been playing airsoft for what it seems like quite a while because, you know, from what I've seen on your guys' socials and everything. And we have a few things to talk about. One is your ELR stuff, which is extreme long range for airsoft. And then also the C21 bill in Canada that is pretty important for you guys that play airsoft. So depending on which way it goes, obviously. So but I thought maybe you guys could go into a little background history of yourselves, tell everybody, you know, about yourself and then how you got into airsoft. And then we'll go into those topics.
Want to go ahead, Craig?
Take it first, Mike? You want me to go or you want? All right.
I'm on all the time. You talk.
All right. So yeah, my name's Craig. I've been in the sport the better part of about 20 years, I'd say. Early 2000s is when I started. The owner of ELR Airsoft, long range sniper shop. I'm an assistant instructor for sniper program in Canada, Airsoft sniper certification program. Yeah, I spent a few years in the military as primary reserves, and yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while now.
Okay. Did you what made you go in the military?
I was 16 and there was a military co-op in grade 10. It was grade 10 or 11, I believe. And you could get your 2 credits plus your basic training course through high school.
Nice.
So I kind of went up that way. As I said, I was a reservist. I didn't go reg force. Wanted to, but didn't plan out. But yeah, no, it's always something I looked up to, and I just thought it would be a challenge, and I loved it.
Is that what interested you in airsoft? Was like that whole military aspect of it?
Well, growing up, like I had older brothers that played airsoft. The first gun I saw was a FAMAS, one of the old school ones. That was probably late 90s. One of my stepbrother actually brought it home and showed me it. And then he took me out to a game, and that was kind of the start of it. I play a bunch of video games too, so it was kind of the video game thing, plus, you know, being around in that culture. And my first gun I bought was an MP5A4 at TM, because at the time, back in the day, you could only get TM, ICS, or Classic Army. Those are the only ones you could get. Yeah, and
those are good though.
Yeah, it was really scarce. It was a small community back then. Obviously, it's grown over the years. Like, it's exploded. That was pretty much, you have one form. I think it was like airsofcanada.com. There's either that or .ca. But you went on there and there'd be a bunch of fields, and you pick tan side or green side. And then you go out for the Saturday, and that would be it.
Okay. And then you started an airsoft shop.
Yeah, that's kind of a recent, about 2 years in the making now. Because we do a lot of airsoft sniping and things of that nature. There is no shop in Canada or the States, so everything we were bringing in from overseas. And it's pretty costly. You know, you get shipping, you get a bucking or something, or you get a pop-up chamber or inner barrel or whatever, and you're paying crazy amount shipping after a build, right? So we kind of saw that North America needed these parts readily available, and that's how we kind of started.
Nice. Okay. What about you, Bacon?
Yeah, so I've been in about 10 years now in the airsoft. I was never in the military. I was into retail for a long, long time. I oversee the Airsoft Canada sniper certification program that Craig was talking about. We've spent the last couple of years revitalizing that because it kind of fallen into a bit of disrepair over time. I run the Direwolves Airsoft team, of which Craig is also a member. I'm Craig's partner at ELR. I also put on events up here. I run hunteering in Canada, which are sniper versus sniper competitions.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I'm just all things airsoft. My life pretty much revolves around it. So
Yeah. Now, how did you get into the sniper stuff, like running those or starting those training courses?
So I play mostly the hardcore milsim stuff that's more mission oriented. I take part in what's called Blackline Simulations. They're an event production company up here, and they put on very realistic, very detailed milsims. And when I first started doing those, one of the things I learned very quickly was that we were trying to do stuff that like maybe special forces would do, and we aren't special forces. And so some stuff went sideways, and I was like, we need to learn how to do like reconnaissance properly, and how am I going to learn that? And I'd done my level 2 ASC sniper cert a few years before with a guy named Shado, who was like the head guy for the program at that time. And I was like, well, I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to see if he can run like a recce course for us, and we'll start there. And then so I started with that, and then Blackline brought a Canadian Forces active duty sniper in to run a two-day course on that. I really enjoyed that. And I brought that information kind of back to the team, and we started working on like, how can we train this? So we started doing stalks, you know, where you have to like get in a position to shoot a target without being detected by someone observing you, and kind of working in that direction. And things just kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of become like the main thing that we do. So unintended direction, but here we are, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, you know, that's that's most of life. You know, hell yeah. Interesting. Okay. And then how did you guys meet?
Craig and me met at Flag Raiders. How many years ago, Craig?
Shit, I don't know. It was the raid event by Toronto Airsoft.
5 or
I think
6?
it was. Yeah, probably. Yeah, or more,
Yeah,
maybe
so
6-ish, probably.
Yeah. So we were both thinner then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've doubled.
Yeah.
I was too.
Yeah, so we started talking, and he came out and he joined the team, and he started showing up on a regular basis and training and stuff. And we've been doing stalks for a while, and bolt action. Our bolt action rifles didn't work that great. Like, we didn't have that much excessive range on the stuff, so we were practicing to get really close. And Craig came out and he set up his first stalk, and he set up at the far end of the field where we usually start, and he just shot the target from there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
So
he kind of
explain the
brought in,
stock.
like,
explain the stock. Like what is that?
The way a
What does that
stock
involve?
works, it's ours. We do it pretty much the way the Canadian military does. So what it is you'll have targets set up at one point.
Yeah.
And you'll have an observer sitting right in front of the target with a spotting scope, binoculars, or whatever. Typically, it's a 7-power thing, right? And he'll be sitting in a chair. And at the far end of the field, you'll have your snipers. They'll start, and they have to crawl into position where they can hit the target. And so along the side of the field, you'll have walkers, and you'll have the spotter will have a radio. And if he thinks he sees something, he'll call freeze. The spotters will call freeze, and the sniper has to freeze in whatever position they're in. And then the spotter will try to walk the walkers verbally onto where the sniper is. And if he succeeds, then the sniper's out. If he doesn't, then you continue on, right? And so once a sniper gets in a position where they think they can take a shot, they'll call the radio, sniper ready, and a walker will get within 10 meters of them. And then there's a couple minutes where the spotter has that opportunity to try and spot the sniper to see if they can actually be seen in their final firing position, right? If they can't, then the spotter will get up and move away from the front of the target. The sniper will load and shoot, and he has 3 shots to make his hit on the target. If he does, he wins the stock, type thing. And so 1, it's a lot of fun, and 2, it makes you really good at not being seen.
Yeah, no shit, dude. That's cool. You know, this I've seen this in a couple of different movies over the years. Yeah. Where they showed that. And I know the one I'm thinking of that I can remember, that particular training or, you know, test or whatever was, I think it was Clear and Present Danger years ago with Harrison Ford.
It's because I'm a sneaky bastard officer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty cool. So that's the same kind of thing you guys do.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really fun. Okay.
And so we do other stuff as well. So our team specializes in like the sniper reconnaissance role at Milsim. So we do patrolling. We do a lot of observation post stuff. So, you know, we have the Hessian mesh and stuff to set up, you know, hidden OPs. Obviously we're really into ghillie suits and, you know, at this point rifles, because, you know, most of us have these really custom bolt action rifles that Craig has built for the shop.
Yeah.
So we're spending a lot of time into like getting them as far as we possibly can. We're actually starting to build dope on them. So data over previous engagements, where like, if you have your rifle and the target is 110 meters out, you know how many mils up to hold to land that shot type thing, right?
Man, that's that's pretty wild for airsoft guns.
Yeah.
So Craig, how far was this shot when you on your stock that you did where you just took the shot where you didn't really have to move that far?
Oh shit. Probably 70-ish meters. The field wasn't that big. So I'd probably say 70-ish meters. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, 70, 80 meters, I think, was the far end of the field. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that is pretty far for an airsoft gun.
I think I was shooting 2.3 joules with that one.
Wow.
That was from an SRS. And it was, I don't know, I just felt like I saw the target there. It was like, oh fuck, might as well try it. Fucking dinged it.
That is
I didn't feel like crawling.
Yeah. So now in that stock, if you would have taken that shot, could you proceed if you would have missed?
If they didn't see me or if they didn't call me,
Okay.
I could have proceeded. I could have dropped and kind of changed positions. It pretty much as soon if the spotter sees you, then he'll call a walker on top of you.
Yeah.
And the walker will go out and he kind of walks right directly on you. I think it has to be about like a foot length. Like if he can kick you, then you're out. But yeah, if he's like 2 feet, foot lengths, you know what I mean, away, then it's you're still in the game.
Okay. So you were kind of taking a chance with that because they could probably hear at least, you know, a little bit, right? The rifle shooting.
That one probably not at that distance. That thing it's pretty quiet. I think they just heard the pan and almost shit the pants.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy. And these are spring loaded.
Yeah. So a lot of guys do HPA, but through the shop, I just like bolt action. I like the spring power.
Yeah.
With the modern day pistons, you can switch out air brakes and weights, and you can just tune right to the joule or specifically what you want it to be. HPA, there's a lot of like regulators and shit, and you got to have a tank. I don't deal with that stuff.
Gotcha.
We're looking into maybe eventually moving into the HPA market as far as like DMRs go.
Yeah.
But as far as bolt action snipers, we prefer the spring.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. Well, when so Bacon, I heard about you and this whole ELR thing from talking to Sniper Chick.
Yep.
You know, this is a few months ago. And she's talking about on the podcast, talking about, yeah, we're shooting this far or whatever with these snipers. I'm like, what? Oh, where? Like how? So, I mean, that's, you know, my only experience hands-on with anything like, you know, with these bolt action snipers are the ones we got in the mystery boxes. So that's what our channel started out as, you know, unboxing mystery boxes. So we would get those, we test them in the backyard. So we would go, and we have a fairly, you know, big chunk of land in the back. So we'd go, you know, 200 feet. When we get out to 200 feet, we're bro, this thing's all over the place. And we had, I think my son bought 0.43s to try with some of these snipers, and it was way more consistent, you know, as far as, you know, left and right, you know, it wasn't getting blown around too much, but it just didn't have the oomph to make it very far, you know. So we had to keep moving up. I think it was about, to get a solid shot, it was probably about 100 to 125 feet, you know, which is only, you know, what, 30 some meters, you know, 40 meters. And you guys are talking like 70 meters and 100 meters or whatever. Like this is that's pretty crazy.
I think our record to date was 150 meters.
Oh my-
Multiple impacts at 150. That was shooting a little bit more hot. I think it was at 3.6 joules.
Yeah.
But we were just dicking around. There's a giant field, right? Actually a buddy's property. And we're like, fuck, why don't we just try some long range shit, right? So we set up, I think it was at 100 meters first, then we backed it out to about 150 meters. I got it dialed in. Essentially at that distance, what you want to do is you want to put a tarp as a backdrop, preferably like a black tarp, right? So you can watch the BB as much as possible.
Yeah.
You also have guys down range to kind of walk you on the target. But as soon as you're on the target, you get multiple impacts. I dialed it in. Michael came up for a shot. I think he hit it his second shot at 150 meters.
Headshot.
So,
oh my
God. Headshot. Yeah.
And it was high wind. I was holding 20 meters to the left and the curve, the BB in with the wind. It was pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when you're shooting this far with an airsoft, especially with an airsoft gun, are you kind of looking at the wind as well to try to get? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that day we had flags set up down the course so we could see what the wind was doing. Because like at that distance, it's actually you'll get, it's blowing this way at this point, it's blowing this way at the other point, right? So
right.
You got to learn that. And really the biggest challenge to this is learning to read wind. And I wouldn't say that I'm good at that yet. I'm just starting to get there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The training we did, I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. And when we qualify with the rifle, the M16A2 is what we used back then, ages ago. But it was, our longest distance that we qualified with was 500 meters. So with iron sights. So we had flags all the way down, where you had to look at the, those snipers that do these long range shots, man, it's crazy what goes into figuring out, putting that thing in the black.
Yeah, it's definitely a really serious skill for those guys, right?
And that's is that your main focus right now? You guys with as far as airsoft is working on the sniper long range, seeing how far you guys can get with the equipment you have.
The repeatable accuracy at the maximum possible range.
Gotcha.
Along with the tactics of it.
Right. And that would be the stalking.
The stalking, the patrolling, how to set up like an ORV, how to get into a final firing position or an OP, FFP, that kind of stuff, right? Similar to what like a real sniper would do. Because we're not really playing walk-on games. We're playing mil sims where it's like, it's 2 or 3 days and it's a mission.
Right.
Right. So you have to accomplish a specific thing.
Yeah. Okay. So how often do you guys get out for these mil sims? Do you go every few months?
So the milsims, the big ones here that we go to are mostly concentrated in the fall. So like the next 2 months, I have one every 2 weeks.
Wow.
But I mean, we've been out nearly every weekend this summer, either training or running the sniper certs or a hunting event or stuff like that. Like it's nonstop.
Right. So what goes into this combination of things in your sniper rifle to get it to shoot this far, to carry this heavy ass BB accurately? Like your spring, like what's the secret in the gun?
Yeah, pretty much barrel group. So a lot of the ones out of the box, they won't perform, they won't function. That's what kind of deters a lot of people. You spend $500 on a bolt action, you bring it out to the field, you're like, oh shit, I can't hit anything.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens, and it's kind of a deterrent, right? So if you have a good barrel group, like a top dead center, so you can adjust it right from the top. If you have a good bucking, if you have a good chamber, those are all things that are key to actually moving that BB further. A lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll just jam a spring in there, but it won't really do anything else. But no, barrel group is by far, I'd say, most important, because that's what's contacting that BB, putting backspin on it and giving that Magnus effect. And that's essentially, the more efficient that is, the further you can shoot out. I have it, well, I just sold actually, but I had a Tokyo Marui G spec, and it was under 1 joule because it's a stock Tokyo Marui as far as the cylinder set goes.
Yeah.
But the barrel group, I had an upgraded bucking, inner barrel, and the Tridos TDC, and I could hit 55, 60 meters with that. And that's super low. Yeah, super low joules.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. See, I always, so my experience with these guns is very limited. And I always thought, you know, well, yeah, just put a stronger spring in there. I mean, what else you need? This thing, you know, it's like a paintball gun, you know,
Yeah.
just
A big
smaller.
a big misconception too is you only run its heavyweight BB as your rifle can shoot. If you're a lower joule setup, you won't be throwing 4/8 in there. There's really no point. Sometimes using a heavier BB, you'll actually lose range because you physically can't hop that. You physically can't move that that weight of BB. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much if you have a bunch of bags, you know, you have your 3.2s, 3.6, 4.43s, 4.5, 4.8s all lined up. You try a few, dial in your hop up, try a few, dial in your hop up, and you pretty much figure out what is the best weight for your build. And it could, you know, for a VSR 10 build, for example, I'd be using 4.3s to 4.5s, whereas something with bigger volume, you use a heavier weight BB, 0.48s, 0.5 sometimes. So yeah, there's a little bit of science to it, but
Fives. Geez. Okay. That's wild. Yeah, we well, we had a VSR 10, and that's, like I said, that's what we thought. We didn't know anything about it. Like, just put a stronger spring in there, it'll be, you know, shoot better. And
yeah.
no,
That's what usually what happens. Yeah.
no, nothing about the bucking and the barrel and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, interesting. Now, are you guys building like a with all this knowledge and all this testing, and you know, obviously you have a lot of tests that you're doing with these different, you know, all those different variables inside, you know, this particular gun or whatever. Are you building like a catalog of, or a database of, you know, to try to fine tune, hey, with this gun, with this thing, with this, you know, with all these different parts, and with this weight BB, this is the best weight BB for this range or whatever?
Yeah, we pretty much have a general idea. We've worked on a bunch of them over the years now, so we kind of have that general knowledge. We do have our custom rifle, which is the Jurassic ELR. We've teamed up with EDGI, and we have the receivers built by him, a whole bunch of parts that go into our ELR sniper rifle. So it's kind of a partnership with us and him. And when we're building those to customers, we say, hey, what kind of joules do you want to be putting out of this thing? And then I have kind of a base point where, okay, you want 188 joules. Okay, I'll do this. You know, if you want 2.32 plus, then I'll do this. So we kind of have a general. And then with that, the piston itself can be adjustable. So let's say I'm a little bit hot or a little bit not, I could kind of adjust things, you know, change out a weight, change out the air brake, and then from there tune to bring it as close to the customer's expectations.
What is an air brake? This is the first time I've ever heard of an air brake in a airsoft gun. I'm very ignorant with a lot of stuff with airsoft. So
and old school. So it's essentially you have your piston and then you'll have the cup. It will be almost like a little pin sticking out. And that's essentially what an air brake is. If your air brake is in more, you can increase your joules. If you put it out more, you'll decrease the joules. And that's just for fine tuning. But yeah, we do that. Most of the upgraded pistons on the market these days will have adjustable air brake or weights, depending on what you need.
I gotcha. Huh. Interesting. Hell yeah. Well, you guys are busy, man. You got that's a lot of work to you know, because it's time consuming. Getting all that set up. And it's not just go in the backyard and plink, you know, targets that are like 30 feet away. You're setting up your long range targets. Somebody's got to walk that to set, you know, things up. And obviously, you know, stalking doesn't take, you know, I mean, that's a long process, right? How long does a normal stalk take?
1 to 3 hours.
Wow. Okay. And
So
now
it depends on what we're doing that day, right? So
gotcha. So if you're training somebody for the first time and they come out and they want to do one of these stalks, can they just show up like green as hell, not know anything, and then you can teach them what to do, and then hey, go ahead and start your stock. This is what you have to do. And then ready, go. That's kind of something they could start out with.
Yeah, I mean, when we have new people for the team that show up that never done that, that's basically what we do. We get them out, explain how it works. Usually we have them watch one as a walker or sitting alongside the spotter, so they get an idea of what's going on.
Right.
And then we have them do it, and we usually go through their equipment and kind of, is it okay if I swear on your show?
Of course.
Okay, so we unfuck their gear, because usually the gear is fucked up when they show up, right?
Exactly.
So we unfuck their gear, get things organized for them so that it's not going to be like falling apart as they crawl, because most people don't consider crawling with their kit on, right?
Right.
If they got plate carriers and stuff, we make them get rid of that and that kind of stuff, because you're not going to crawl with that shit, right?
No.
And then they crawl, and whatever happens, happens. And then we have a discussion about, like, you know, what did you learn? What was the experience? Here's what we saw. If we caught you, or if you made the shot, fucking good job, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of work from there. And the team is, you know, everyone is pretty cool. So it's usually just a discussion, right? Like I saw your foot, or I saw you bump something, and I saw, you know, some grass move or whatever when you were out there, and that's what brought me on to you, right? And as you do those, every time you do them, you learn more and more about it, and you just get better at it, right? Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, for real. That's pretty cool. So most of the people that come out there and it's their first time, do they enjoy doing that, you know, the stalk or whatever? And are they successful their first time?
Yes and no. Most people don't succeed the first time out. Some do, but it's rare.
Yeah.
Most people enjoy it. There are some who don't. I mean, it's a specialized sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Sniping is not for everyone. You need to have a lot of patience,
right,
and a lot of tenacity, right? Like if you're out in the summer and you got a ghillie suit on and it's like 30 degrees and you're laying on the ground and the brush slowly inching up, like that's hot. Right?
Yeah, for 3 hours on a 3-hour
Yeah,
stock.
for 3 hours. Yeah,
for sure.
And you're calling like a 3-hour stock is probably 500 meters or better, right? Like for us, so you know, you're on your belly the entire time in the grass. There's bugs crawling and stuff. That's not going to be for everybody, and that's totally okay, right?
Right.
You know, what we do isn't for everyone, and you know, there's all kinds of different airsoft. For you can always find what you enjoy, but most people who come out with us are pretty clear about what they're getting into because they've heard about us, and that's why they ended up
right
there. And you know, so they usually have a good time, and it kind of goes from there.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you get some people that are out there like, bro, like they start getting impatient. Yeah, it's like, and they start kind of crawling faster. I bet you a lot of people, I'm guessing here, but are very surprised at how slow you have to move to not be seen, right?
It's that, and it's the physical stress of crawling. Like if you were crawl 500 meters in your belly,
oh yeah,
like it's harder than you expect, right? Like,
oh, shit.
Right? The first time I did it, I was like, holy shit, right? Like what's going on here? I think I'm gonna die. Right. So like it's that, right? It's more often than not. They're like, man, that's hard, right? And you can't like it's not like you can drink a lot or you know, like or eat while you're out there. You're just doing that for whatever period of time it takes. So like if it's 30 degrees, you got your ghillie on and you've been out there for 3 hours crawling, you're toast by the end of it, right? Like,
oh yeah.
So you're coming in and rehydrating and getting all the stuff off and trying to cool down. So
yeah,
but I mean, you know, that the people who are into that stick around, and they're the people you want around you, because when we go out to do a mil sim and there's an actual mission, they're gonna complete it, right? Like they're gonna stay out no matter what's happening.
Right. Now, when you guys go to mil sims, do you use like the sniper and spotter team, like the scout?
Use a det. So like there will be. It's very rarely just two of us. There'll be like tipping. So if there's like say 6 of us, it'd be like 2 snipers, a couple of spotters, but there'd be at least 2 dudes with machine guns, and you know, so there's cover. Right?
Oh, nice.
Because we can't, you know, with a real sniper rifle, you can engage someone at 1,200 meters or better now, right?
Right.
We're like, you know, maybe max 100 meters away from somebody, if that, a lot of the time. And so if you miss your shot or you make your shot and the other side figures out where you are, you're in the fight right away, right? So you want dudes ready to rock and roll at a moment's notice when that happens.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So your team, you guys have a pretty big team when you go to mil sims?
So there's, I think all told, there's close to 25 people, but most of them are, about half are inactive right now. You know, they've gotten married or they moved on or they're doing whatever. There's about 12 of us that are active, and usually there's like, you know, 6 to 10 that show up for stuff.
Okay. That's pretty good size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Core group of people that you can trust, and that's cool. Hell yeah. So what's your favorite, either of you, what's your favorite or I guess most memorable stock or milsim sniper shot that you've had since you've started playing?
You want to take that first? You want me to do it?
I'm thinking about it type thing, right?
I think the funniest one, we were out at, I think it was Longstone's field. That one where I got up real close on the right-hand side. I fucking shot like right across the field there. And you're like, oh, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, I thought you were over there, and I thought you were over there, and I was looking that way when you pulled the trigger.
Pretty much, it started. And then I went up the left-hand side and I just fucking boogied. Like I was kind of like walking, really like crawl walking kind of.
Yeah.
The grass is a little bit bigger. I got up pretty fucking close and I let a shot go. And yeah, he thought it was over on the other side of the field. I just fucking pinged the target.
Now this is at a milsim?
No, this is just a stock.
Oh,
Yeah,
a
just
stock.
training. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that was probably the funniest one, or the holy shit one.
Well, that's like the scene in that movie that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So I guess my favorite one is, like, I didn't even get to shoot anyone. Last year we did an event called Deadfall, which is one of the hardest milsims here. It takes place in Prince Edward County down there, one of the Great Lakes, in the late fall. So the weather's terrible typically, right? And 4 of us did an observation post about 100 meters away from the enemy base. And we got there in the morning and we were out there laying watch them all day, listening to them talk and stuff. And then around 1 a.m. it's starting to rain a bit and stuff. And a couple of the crew are down sleeping and I'm sitting watching, and I hear their commander screaming, "Stand to." And I'm like, oh, that can't be good. And so I'm watching, and it's like every fucking flashlight in the world turned on, like within 70 meters or so of our position, like right in front of us.
Oh shit.
And it wasn't aimed at us, but it was like they were all right there. Right.
Okay.
There's 4 of us, and there's like 60 some odd of them. And I'm like, so I'm reaching out and touching people, like, get up, something's going on, right? And my comms guys in their comms listening is like, they're going to sweep the forest in front of their base. They think someone's out there. And I'm like, we're in the forest in front of their base. Grab your E&E kit and your fighting order. We're getting out of here, right? So like, at that point, they started sending out fucking bottle rockets. And so I'm hearing bang, bang, and I'm like, they're engaging somebody. And I knew there was a second recce team out there somewhere. So I'm thinking maybe they've engaged them. I don't know. But I could see all these flashlights kind of starting to move towards us. And I'm like, we got to go. So like, we got up and we beat feet out of there over a kilometer through like the forest in pitch black with like no night vision over rough terrain.
God.
And got out in one piece. And it turned out they didn't even know we were there. They thought they'd seen somebody. And so they were just looking around type thing. And they didn't even see them. The bottle rockets were just a couple of their guys screwing around. But to us, it looked like they were coming for us at that moment.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, what's
Right,
good
so, yeah.
is you guys made it out without, dark, rough terrain, and nobody broke an ankle or, that's good.
Yeah, so that's probably my favorite one. Like I said, I can get to shoot anybody, but the best stuff is seldom when you get to shoot someone doing this. It's like not being seen or like getting eyes on the enemy for a period of time or whatever. It's that kind of stuff that I did.
Yeah.
Right? And usually I like the best stuff is when stuff goes wrong and you have to, you're off plan now and you got to improvise and adapt to it, right? On the fly.
Right. Yeah, man, your adrenaline gets going and you know, and then when you make it out or you win or whatever, like that's the best feeling. I talked to this dude in the UK, PSDC Airsoft. He's funny as shit, man. Some of his videos. So they did an event at their local field or whatever, him and his buddies, and he's got this on his YouTube. And it's a zombie event, like the one where you start out with pretty much like infection. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 people are zombies or infected or whatever. And then as they shoot people, they become infected. So whoever the last one alive was, not infected or whatever, was the winner. So he goes over and lays in the leaves and tells his buddies, hey, cover me up. So he's got his GoPro on and he's totally covered up. You could see people almost stepping on him, trying to look around the woods. And nobody finds him except, well, somebody eventually found him. But anyway, it was really funny because you know, you see all these people just walking around, and he's like talking real quiet to his GoPro, like, oh no, they're gonna see me, you know. And it's just a funny thing, you know, where all these people, when they're walking around, they can't see him, and he's having a ball doing it, you know. And he's not really a sniper, he's like a run and gun kind of guy in his normal gameplay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool when people like walk right by you.
Yeah. And I'm sure with what you guys do,
rush.
that happens quite often, where they get pretty close and they don't see you.
Yeah, and it's always by accident, right? It's never the, you know, the planned threat that we're concerned about. It's never what materializes. It's some dude walking out into the bush to have a piss, or, you know, wandering around, like just walks like right on top of you.
All right, so have you been pissed on?
No, not yet.
Hey, no
yet.
shooting in the dick, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Hell yeah. Well, so your ELR stuff, and then all your sniper stuff, what do you guys have I know you have a website. I looked at your website, the ELR Airsoft. And is that where everyone can find all of the sniping stuff? What about the stalks and all that? Is that on there as well? Like if somebody wanted to learn about that and how to go to one of those classes or trainings, where do they find the info on that?
We started a YouTube account. We planned this summer to do a bunch of like review videos, you know, just kind of talkthroughs of a stock, or, you know, setting up position, or tech work. We just haven't got to it yet, but we plan to do a series of YouTube videos for pretty much everything we've been talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also so there's a couple different things going on there. There's the Airsoft Canada Sniper Certification Program, which is on Facebook. You can find the page.
Gotcha.
And that's essentially a safety course that allows you to use a higher velocity bolt action in specific events and fields, right? And so that course has different levels, and the focus, level 2 is the first level you do. And it focuses on range estimation so that you understand the minimum engagement distances, because you can't shoot someone right up close with one of these, right?
Right.
So level 2 covers mostly that and some basics about camouflage, a bit about stalking, and then there's a stalk component where we show you a stalk and you execute a couple of them. And then level 3 is kind of you have to demonstrate that you still know how to do that, right? You've retained the information from level 2 properly. And then it goes into team tactics and stuff. So it's more about patrolling and reaction to contact drills, how to set up an OP, that kind of stuff. And then people who do really well at that get invited to level 4, which is a command level course, which is about how to plan missions and milsims for sniper teams, basically.
Damn.
So it goes through like all the considerations for that and the tactics, and it gets fairly complicated.
Yeah.
We ran a test of that last year, and like next year we'll probably run the first level 4 course. We've been working on that material for a while now.
Right.
The course it's been around, I don't know, 15 years or so, and it used to be in much greater use than it is now. We've revitalized the course. We've reorganized how it's taught. Before it was everybody had their own, there were multiple instructors, they had kind of their own curriculum. Now there's books, like it's standardized. This is what level 2 looks like, and here's how you're going to test people, and here's what they will learn. This is level 3, and it's this specific information. So we're trying to get that into broader use again. And also another part of it is that, you know, if you get through this course, whether you're into sniping or not, if you're into milsim, it will help you, because, you know, learning this stuff like reaction to contact drills, how to conduct a patrol will help if you're doing an actual milsim, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff. And then some of the stocks we do are within the team. So it's either people who are on the Direwolves or interested in joining, or people who just contact us and say, hey, I'd like to come out, because we're pretty open about bringing guys out. This is our passion, and we want as many people as possible playing in this style. So if someone says, hey, I want to come, sure, come on out, we'll show you the thing and get them going in it.
Very cool. Hell yeah. Well, I love that you guys are, you know, working on this long range stuff, and you have all this stuff, not just just here, try this sniper rifle out, you see how far you can shoot, but the whole thing with starting somebody from scratch, knows nothing about it. Here's how you do a stock, here's how you do recon, here's how you do all this, you know, kind of stuff. Those are really, really good lessons, you know, that most people that get into that don't have any clue about it, guaranteed there's a lot to learn there that they would never expect, you know. So yeah, man, awesome. Okay. Well, I definitely want to hear about this, the C-21 bill in Canada. We've seen a bunch of stuff on it, you know, for the last, I don't know, 2-3 months, I guess, since it was announced. I know very little about it. And so, you know, kind of fill me in, and then on what, you know, how did it start? And because I was a little familiar with the C-11, I guess. That was something, I guess, last year that, or a couple years ago, that somebody thought that was going to be the one that was going to, you know, affect airsoft. And now this
C-71.
one, okay,
That was the C-71. That was essentially like
71.
the assault weapons ban.
Yes,
that
that's
we
it.
thought this was going to get tied into, but Michael is the expert on the C-21 there.
Okay, so yeah, give me a rundown on that.
Yeah, so I work for Airsoft in Canada, which is like the federal level lobbying organization essentially for airsoft, right? And last year, the Liberal government introduced Bill C-21, and it included language that would make airsoft guns prohibited devices in Canada. And so basically the way Canadian law works is that replicas are prohibited. You can't own them. And you can own an airsoft gun because, and I'm going to tell you something, you're going to say that's crazy, you must be lying to me, but I'm not, I promise. An airsoft gun is legal for you to own because it will shoot a BB with enough force to damage a pig's eye. It passes what's called officially the pig's eye test. And that means it shoots a 0.2 BB at above 366 FPS. So because it does that, it's not a replica, it's an uncontrolled firearm, provided it doesn't exceed 500 FPS and or 5.7 joules. You're making the face everyone makes when I tell them that. You must be lying to me.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Canadian gun law is Canadian gun law was written by people who don't like guns and knew nothing about them. So we have this to deal with, right?
Right.
So that gray area, the uncontrolled firearm, is what allowed us to have them. And so, like, you don't have to have a license. There's no rules beyond for transporting them beyond. They must be transported responsibly. So they got to be in a case. You can't walk down the street with your airsoft gun waving it around, right? You'll get shot. You know, you have to store them responsibly, but again, that's not locked or anything.
Yeah.
By comparison, a firearm in Canada, there's no open carry, there's none of that stuff. You have to have them locked at home. They have to have trigger locks on. They're all licensed and stuff. So that's how things have been for quite a while. So last year, what they said was that they changed the wording so that anything up to 500 FPS and 5.7, or anything over 500 FPS and 5.7 that was a replica but not a real gun, would be prohibited. So that would be the end of pretty much every airsoft gun, right? And so last year when that happened, we made a lot of noise. We got the support of the other 3 major federal parties, and we spoke with the Liberal Party. And basically what we learned at the time was that they were reacting to the police saying, hey, we're encountering these things on the street and it's dangerous because we can't tell if it's a real gun or not.
Gotcha.
And what we were told was that when they put this language in, they knew nothing about the existence of the community and the industry in Canada. And so we caused a really big stink. And what happened was an election was called and the bill died. And so based on all we learned at that time, we assumed that they wouldn't reintroduce legislation regarding airsoft without coming to talk to us first.
Yeah.
Because they now knew it existed. And we were completely and totally wrong about that. So a few months ago, they introduced Bill C-21 ×2, which had the same airsoft legislation in it. So we're facing the same problem. It'll become prohibited devices. And it's tacked into, it's weird because Bill C-21, essentially what it does is it outlaws handgun ownership in Canada, more or less. It freezes it. So you can't bring them in. You can't transfer them anymore. It's if you have one, you can keep it, but once you die, it's gone.
Grandfather, it can't do anything.
Your grandfather,
wow. Okay.
And so on top, we're in amongst that language is a section on airsoft, right? And it's like, why do we have airsoft in a firearms bill, right? But that's what we're dealing with. So
yeah,
the parliament, so we have a parliamentary system. The bill was introduced. It had what's called its first reading, where it's read out and then there's debate about it. In the second reading, there's debate about it, and then it was voted to go into committee, and then the parliament recessed for the summer, and they're going back in a few weeks.
Gotcha.
And so it'll go into committee phase, and the committee will discuss the bill. There will be witnesses called to talk about why it's good, bad, and different, and they will vote on amendments. So what we're trying to do at this point is we're trying to get the bill amended so that airsoft remains legal in Canada.
Yeah.
We've pretty much reached the conclusion that like it's not going to be, we're not going to be able to remove it from the bill altogether. That's what we're being told by, we have some lobbyists and stuff working on this.
Yeah.
So we're working on, what kind of amendments we can get and being able to make sure we can get the amendments. So we're working with the other parties to make sure we have their support. And we've been reaching out to the Liberal Party, which is the party in power right now, and talking to individual Liberal MPs about it. And we've had some of them support us as well, and have written letters to the Justice Minister, the Minister of Public Safety, the members of the SECU, the committee that's debating this,
Yeah.
saying like, you need to talk to the airsofters, you need to find an amendment that works for them. I met with my MP, who's a Liberal MP, last week, and we had a similar conversation for a little over an hour about what airsoft was, why this is a problem, why this isn't necessary, and potential solutions to it. And she's agreed to write a similar letter for us. I'm trying to arrange, and there's not much time left because she's going back to Ottawa for, the parliament resumes soon, but I'm trying to get her to one of the local fields so she can see up close what the community is.
Yeah.
And so nothing is guaranteed at this point. It's politics, and maybe we have the votes we need to make sure it gets amended. Maybe we don't. We don't know at this point. A lot of what we've been trying to do is trying to make the Liberals realize that. So it's a little bit complicated, but the firearms community in Canada, like real firearms, is pretty much overwhelmingly conservative and hostile to the Liberal Party. This probably doesn't surprise anybody, right?
Right.
And so for the Liberals, doing anything to further strengthen firearms legislation, despite the fact that our legislation in Canada is extremely strict already and doesn't really need to be changed, is a vote. It's a vote winner for them because their core, their base, like that. Most Canadians don't own guns and don't know anything about our legislation, and they assume that the kind of problems that you experience in the US is what's happening here, and that's not at all true, right? But when they hear Liberal politicians saying, we got to get these guns off the street, and we'll do that by targeting legal gun owners, they believe that's what is going to happen. It doesn't work that way in reality, but it's politics.
Right.
And they're not losing any votes because the firearms community isn't voting for them anyway. So the airsoft community in Canada is not overwhelmingly conservative. It's diverse.
Very
it's all over the
diverse.
place politically, right? Very
Exactly.
diverse.
Yeah.
And not just politically, it's racially, ethnically,
For sure.
everyone plays, right?
Everything.
And so a lot of the conversations have been like, hey, here's who we are, and a lot of us vote for you, and we can't because of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's having that conversation. It's like, look, you're causing yourself a problem, and then the message that we're putting out, and we're going to be announcing this probably by the time this podcast is out, like the videos will be out. But what we want them to do, what the other airsofters to do, is contact your MP and say, look, this is going to affect who I vote for, and not just who I vote for, but I'm going to organize people to volunteer for whichever party supports us, because that's what politicians really care about, is votes, right? And when you say, hey, I'm going to come out and I'm going to get 15 of my friends to go campaign for whoever is most likely to unseat you, that's a big problem for them, right? And so we're trying to get that message across. And preferably the Liberals would just listen to us and would make the necessary amendments, because there are, I think they listed some concerns, and most of them aren't going to be addressed by this bill anyway. But the one that is a concern we share is we don't want people getting shot by the police because they've transported an airsoft gun incorrectly in public, right? Yeah. We don't want some kid wandering out on the street and getting shot because of that. Obviously, no one wants that.
Right.
And so there probably are steps that could be taken to try to help, prevent that. We'll never entirely stop that, but every activity we engage in has some risk with it, right?
For sure.
And airsoft is, for most people, it's an overwhelmingly positive experience in their life, right? Like, for me, it's my social circle. Yeah. Craig and me, like, it's our business.
Yeah.
Right. I have friends who are recovering addicts, that this is their support network.
Absolutely.
I have friends who are, combat veterans, and this is how they deal with PTSD.
Exactly.
All kinds of stuff like that, right? So that you can't just go like, there's potential bad, so we should get rid of it, because there's all this good.
Right.
That comes of it, right? And so it's trying to get that message across. And I'm hopeful that the Liberals are going to listen to us. But we don't know how it's going to go yet.
Right.
So
do they, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's difficult to have a conversation and explain, like, logically, hey, look at all these good points about this. This is why this bill shouldn't, airsoft should not be in this bill, because, like what you just said, we got, it affects so many people positively that normally wouldn't have a hobby that helps them with PTSD or drug addiction, or there's, family, social environment, or, I'm talking about, like, all kind of different things. Unfortunately, you know, with what you said earlier, you have to kind of go, well, if you vote for this bill, then I can't vote for you. Like sometimes that's the only way they hear what, you know what I mean? And that's unfortunate. So
Yep.
now are you guys, you said earlier you had plans or at least thinking about trying to get one of these, you know, representatives or politicians, whatever, to a field to experience some of this stuff. If that doesn't happen, or if that can't happen because of their schedule, is there a way to present like videos that you guys create, or somebody, you know, in your group, airsoft group, whatever, that creates to show them here's this, or maybe interviews with people that, you know, have explained some of this stuff that they've overcome because of this sport?
So there's a few things that we can do, and we have done. So when I started contacting my MP, I went through the normal process. I called and asked for a meeting, and then I was told I needed to send an email explaining who I was, what I wanted to talk about, that I was a constituent. I did that. And then if you go to my Instagram, which is bacon_DW01, there's a video where I address my MP talking about airsoft and why I want to talk to her and what the community is like. So we can do stuff like that, because what I don't want to be too broad, but some MPs, when you tell them you want to talk about C21, if they're on the side of supporting that bill, they don't want to necessarily talk to you, right? And so you have to go, we're encouraging people to go to their social media and respectfully and politely engage them, right? There's no point in telling these people to fuck themselves or behaving aggressively. That won't help our cause at all. You need to act like a regular citizen, right? Like a regular person.
In normal life, man. Like,
yeah, right.
You tell me that, I'm not going to listen to you.
You'd be surprised how many people don't get that, right? But you want to engage them at that level, and hopefully by seeing the social media, they start to get an idea of what we're talking about. When I went in, I brought testimonials, so written letters from 6 different airsofters, a couple combat veterans, some women in the community, a couple of immigrants actually. One of them, it was from a team that's all Filipinos, and it's like their cultural group plays airsoft together, and does a bunch of stuff. One of the guys is paraplegic. He's in a wheelchair and he plays. And so stuff like that, so she could see, you know, like this is who this community is, right? And I like to go talk to them because I'm more on the liberal side in a lot of my views anyway. So I don't necessarily disagree with them about everything, right? I disagree about this point, right? And so when you can talk to them on their language, on their level, in their language, that helps a lot.
Sure.
But you know, regardless of whatever your political bent is, we need to get every airsofter in Canada to reach out to their MP in the next couple of weeks and just say, hey, I need you to help me with this, and here's why you should help me, and here, and you know, and so write the letter and ask these people to talk to us and consult with us about amendments, because that's how this gets fixed. And we need to make sure that they see that there are a lot of us and that we're organized, and you know, that we're not a threat to public safety, because we're not.
Right.
That we're already a self-policing community, because we are, right?
Exactly.
That it's a large industry. It's a $220 million industry in Canada, right? So it's a lot of jobs, a lot of money.
Right.
That will be gone if this gets passed.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, if all of that is enough to convince them that we're prepared to take action that's going to hurt them politically.
Right.
Right. Because we're an organized community. You know, one of the things that I pointed out is that airsofters, like when you start playing airsoft, what's one of the first things you do? You join a team, right? Like 90% of people. And then those teams go to event and they get rolled into bigger teams. And there's different levels of leadership, and you're used to, like, here's a plan, we're going to execute it. So from a political point of view, it's no different. If we're going to go campaign in a neighborhood for somebody, it's like we're going to get someone's in charge, and they're going to put different levels of leadership in, and we're going to get our volunteers in place just like we would at an event, and go out and do this stuff. And that makes us politically dangerous to them, right? And we need to make sure that they understand that. I would hope that it won't come to that. I would hope that, you know, these are reasonable people. Most of them that I've talked to are, right, and that we can come to an understanding about what needs to be done, right? And I personally, I wouldn't mind if we could get legislation that's written properly that helps address the one problem. I'd probably be, you know, pretty okay with that, because I think it would keep us off the chopping block in the future. Right. But it's getting that, and we can't get that unless they talk to us, and they didn't bother to consult with us before drafting this legislation. When they were asked in the House of Commons, the Liberal minister, I can't remember her name, but her response was, we didn't talk to them, but you should talk to your local police about airsoft and see what they say. And I was pretty upset about that for a couple of reasons, because one, you're supposed to consult with the communities you're going to impact when you craft legislation, right? Because legislation should be, you need to look at like, here's what we're going to do and here's why, and this is the good it will do, but you need to look at the damage you're going to do as well. And they didn't do that.
Right.
And I'm not a huge fan. I'm going to get a little political on you, but I'm not a huge fan of allowing the police to dictate government policy.
No,
I think that's a bad idea.
I think it's a
it
really
goes to
bad
places.
idea.
Yeah, really bad place really fast,
Yeah.
right? And the thing that surprises me is like, these are liberals, they're supposed to know that, right? Like if you talk to a liberal, like a political liberal, they should, of course we're not going to just consult the police because that's not how this works, but that's what they did, right? And I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So what in this new bill, how is it different? I guess why did they add that, or what did they add for airsoft compared to the C71 whatever? So like how is it different?
So this C21 versus last C21, the wording is almost the same. The net result is the same in terms of the airsoft.
So
part.
it's
the part,
anything up to 500 or whatever it was.
Basically anything that's a replica that no matter what velocity it shoots at is done.
Oh wow!
Right. So if it looks, the exact wording is if it looks, I'm going to mess it up. Basically, if it looks significantly like a real firearm,
yeah,
but isn't, no matter what it shoots, it's prohibited in Canada. Right. So we could keep them, but we couldn't bring any more in. We couldn't sell them to anybody. We couldn't give them to anybody. And additionally, like if we were playing, let's say we had an event. So I'm going to be commanding a daybreak in the end of the month, which is 300-400 people. The police could roll up to that and seize all the guns, and there would be nothing we could do about it.
Oh my
God.
God.
In Canada, they could say, well, it's a prohibited device. You're allowed to have it, but you have to show up with a license that says you're allowed to have that. The problem is that license in Canadian law doesn't exist. So they come and take them, and that would be the end of it, right?
Yeah.
And then the other problem is, as you know, airsoft guns are toys. They're not built like a real gun. Like you could take an AR-15 apart 1,000 times, it would go back together 1,000 times. Maybe get a little bit looser, whatever, but it'd be fine.
Yeah.
If you take an airsoft gun apart 1,000 times, it'll be broken.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And you play for it. I don't know about you, but like I blow my guns up every 2 to 3 years, pretty much. Right? Like I beat them up and they become. I got to rebuild them or replace them, basically. Right.
Yeah.
So if this passed within like 4 or 5 years, the sport would be over because there wouldn't be enough guys left with working guns. Right.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the mystery boxes we would get, we would say, oh man, this one's so awesome. It's like, it's full metal, and it's not really full metal. It's like machined aluminum, it's still, it's got weight to it compared to the, cheaper plastic ones, but, it is still like these things. My son broke one, a full metal one, the first time he went out to one of the mil sims or this event he went to, fell down, kind of landed on a tree root, it broke the handguard. It just cracked it. So, they're not, and obviously they can't shoot real ammo. They can only shoot these little BBs, or I guess if you threw some dirt in the end or something, it might shoot it out, but I don't know. It's, I'm not. So is there anything in there that says, like maybe a different color?
So
have you seen those
right now? Yeah. So you guys have orange tips, for example, right?
Yeah.
So that's, we think that that's one of the things that might be on the board is getting orange tips, which, we could live with that.
Yeah.
Not everyone would like it, but it would be not a huge inconvenience, right? We'd carry on. The problem is currently under Canadian law, the RCMP, so our federal police agency, like they interpret all the firearms law. They've said that just because it's a different color doesn't mean it's not a replica. So that might or might not be okay, right? So the example I use with my MP is I brought her a picture of a PDRC. Do you remember the Magpul PDRC from a few years ago? So it was a replica. It was a bullpup personal defense rifle that Magpul designed, and they never rebuilt it, but PTS built a series of them, right? And so I said, like, let's in theory say this law passes, and it says, replicas of real guns are no good. There's no real PDRC. So let's say that me and my partner had enough money to like manufacture this overseas. And so the cost of that, like to get a gun set up, is around $250,000 just to get the machinery and the molds and stuff, right? And then you're talking about generating an order that's big enough for those companies to care, because the Canadian market is pretty small compared to everybody else, right? So we're probably talking, $500,000 or better into getting an order of these. The way the law is worded, it's open to interpretation, and the CBSA, which is our border agency, they're known for interpreting things very loosely. So we don't know that this wouldn't show up at the border, and the CBSA wouldn't determine, well, it looks like a real gun to me.
Yep.
Not allowed to come in.
Yep.
And we also don't know that, oh, maybe it would get in, and then someone in government would say, oh no, that looks too much like a real gun. That's no good.
Right.
Because they could do that. But the power exists to ban by model already, right, with our laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the other problem, is because it's worded very loosely, the industry has no idea what they would have to build to guarantee that it would be allowed to come in.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, no one's going to risk that kind of money for this size market to build stuff.
So is there in this bill, is there, or in any of the laws for airsoft, is there a very defined or clear definition of what a replica is?
There is in the other parts of the firearm law about what a replica is, and it basically, currently, what it comes down to is it's meant to look like a real gun substantially, right? And it either doesn't fire, or it fires below the velocity that Pig's eye test lays out, so below that 366 FPS with 0.2s.
Right.
That's a replica, right? And so you can't bring replicas in. You can't transfer them. You can own them if you own them before the bill came in.
Yeah.
But you can't get any more of them. And the way the bill is, it broadens the definition of replica to include everything that can fire up to that current high level of 500 FPS, 5.7 joules.
Gotcha.
So just it closes that area that we exist in.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to hear about a lot of these different laws that they come up with, and most of them, like what we're talking about now, are very loose. They're very open to interpretation, and
Intentionally so.
I really think they do it. They write it that way on purpose, because it's not like they don't know how to write a very clear, defined law. I mean, we see tax laws; those things, you can't. They're not loosely and open interpretation at all. Like, this is exactly what you have to pay in every situation and scenario out there. And then when it comes to some of these, I feel like they leave it open on purpose so that they can, it gives them a little more kind of room to say, oh, no, that's not good. We can't do that. Well, yeah, this falls within the, no, it looks too much like or whatever, it's just, so
anyway. I think that's intentional.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
Well, two parts. So there's two aspects to that. So some of it I think is intentional, and some of it I think is that some of them don't know how to write good legislation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been disappointed in watching MPs much more closely. Like, my MP seems pretty good. I like talking to her. She seems like she's on the ball. But I've been following a bunch of them, like, as people said, I'm trying to get a hold of my MP, and I've been like looking up who they are and stuff. And some of them, I don't know why they're an MP. Like, I don't understand what their past qualifications, or why somebody thought this would be a person who should be running the country.
Yeah.
And I'll go off a bit of a tangent here, because I'm into political science, right? Everyone complains about politics and how bad politicians and stuff are. Do you know why that shit happens? Because we aren't paying attention.
Yeah, for sure.
You know how many people I've asked when they said, hey, I want to, what do I do? And I say, I want you to talk to your MP. Do you know who your MP is? Nope. Okay, so you don't know who your MP is. You don't know what their qualifications were. You don't know what they're doing. That's why they get away with this stuff, because we're not paying attention to it.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
So in general, we should be paying a lot more attention to what's going on, and we would have less of this stuff happening if we were holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And we don't, because, we're busy with our normal lives or whatever. But meanwhile, this stuff's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
So explain what I'm not familiar with the term MP, and is that like a local kind of representative for you guys?
So we have a parliamentary system, right? So
yeah,
we have an MP as a member of parliament at the federal level.
Gotcha.
And so they have individual ridings. I forget the term you guys use, but for your congressman,
is it like a congressman or something?
It's exactly like a congressman.
Senator.
Idea,
okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So the difference in our system is we don't vote directly for the prime minister. We vote for our MPs at the local level in our ridings.
Oh, okay.
And then whichever party holds the majority of seats in the parliament forms government. What we have right now is we have a government where they don't hold the majority of seats. They hold the largest block. And so they're in a coalition with the NDP, the New Democratic Party, who are to the left of the Liberals. And they vote together on money bills and stuff to form the government, basically.
Gotcha.
And so the leader of the Liberals is our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, at this point.
Yeah.
So it's something like your system, but a little bit different.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so you guys have how does somebody find who their MP is in their region or state or whatever?
Yeah, so there's a government website where you can go to. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I can send it to you if you want. But
Yeah.
you just type in your area code, your postal code, and it will tell you who your MP is. And then what I tell people to do is you learn your MP's name, go and look up their website because they'll have a website. Often it will list it on the government site, like what their website is. Go to that, and they'll list all their social media, right? And so if you're going to go through the process of talking to your MP, which you should be doing at this point, like I said, the first step is to call and say, hey, I want to talk to my MP, and they'll tell you you need an email, send the email, and they get on social media and start making comments about your desire to talk to them. And it's important, it's critically important that we follow what I call the 3 R's, which is you have to be reasonable, rational, and relatable at all times when you talk to these people, right? Because you don't just need to convince them. Anyone who's watching your interactions has to see you as a regular, rational Canadian that they can understand, right? Because the way we get public support is we have to make sure that people who don't play airsoft look at us, look at what's being done to us and say, if they can do that to those people, they could do it to us. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's how we win this fight in large part, right? Is we make sure that the general public who doesn't play airsoft looks at us and goes, those are just regular average Canadians. They're not a threat to anybody. They're just playing a sport. No different than, me playing hockey or baseball or whatever I do. And if the government can ban their sport and destroy it overnight, what's stopping them from doing it to us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That's, so that, do you guys have or is there a group, that has a form letter that you could send to? Okay. You guys do?
If you go to Airsoft in Canada, on Facebook, and it's savingairsoft.ca on the internet, and there's form letters, and we're putting out a package this week that explains the whole process of how to get a hold of your MP, what we want you to follow, what we want you to talk about. That's all going to be there. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on a lot of the videos for ASIC talking about what's going on. So I answer a lot of questions for people about like how to do this stuff. And I'm always happy to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that would be a really a lot easier process to have somebody, okay, I don't know anything about this, but I want to support, because I play airsoft, I want to do something, but I don't know who my MP is. So then they go, there's an easy place for them to find it. And now what do I do? Right? Send them an email. Well, I don't know what to say, like, oh, I play airsoft, please don't ban it. So you guys have information on what kind of letter to send, and
we have form letters. Like, here's what you can just write it and fill in your MP's name. And it's a basic stuff. They're asking for a meeting. If a meeting isn't possible, what they really want is we want your MP to send a letter to the Justice Minister, the Public Safety Minister, and the SECU committee, asking them to consult with Airsoft Airsoft in Canada, some of the provincial groups, the industry, on amendments to the bill. Yeah. So that we can protect airsoft, right? Because there's no justification for complete prohibition here. That's way too heavy-handed.
Sure.
Right, and not based on any reasonable, approach to this.
All right. Well, let me ask you the hard question. When is this thing going into effect, or when is it getting voted on? And if it does pass the way it is right now, do you guys, what are your plans?
So they're back in session in 2 and a bit weeks, and we suspect that C21 is a high priority to them because of what politically is going on in Canada right now. So we're expecting this to be done by Thanksgiving. Gotcha. And then that means it could come into force not long after that, at which point we're all done, right? And as far as the ELR Airsoft, I don't think there's much of a backup plan. What do you think, Craig?
Fuck, I don't know. Sporting goods, maybe. The camo kind of stuff still, but when you can't
go into
guns,
hiding,
right? It's pretty much done. And it's not just us, it's every business in Canada, right?
Well,
both the real steel firearms and airsoft community is going to feel C21 tenfold, right? If it does pass in it as it's worded now. But it's a shitty situation.
So that'd be your Christmas gift if it wow. Okay, so a lot of things on the table for sure for all you airsofters in Canada, and hunting and whatever real steel, I guess.
C21 exists. It's going to destroy a lot of the firearms community.
Okay. Yeah.
Unjustifiably as well, but that's
Well,
that's a whole
sure.
other story.
Yeah. I think isn't Australia kind of like that? I
Yeah.
think airsoft is banned. You know,
3 or
they've got
4 provinces in or states in Australia you can't have airsoft.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, because that's pretty bad. Okay. So
I mean, I wake up every day and I'm like, I just shake my head, right? So like, I work for a lobby group that represents toy guns in Canada, and how insane is it that that exists? It has to exist.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what is the best I guess if they were willing to change the wording in it right now to where it was you know, okay, we can keep airsoft, but here's what you got to do. What is something you would, you know, like to see happen with them changing it?
So I mean, there's a variety of things they might do. So we might see that the guns need to have orange tips. We might see like what California does, where like or Portugal, where parts of the guns have to be brightly colored.
Mhm.
That's possible. We might see that when you transport them, you have to put a brightly colored, you know, rifle or barrel cover on them to indicate it's not a real gun.
Yeah.
We could see laws around transport that say you need to transport them in like a locked hard case. I personally, a lot of guys don't like that. I personally wouldn't mind that because I think it would eliminate a lot of the problems immediately.
Gotcha.
We could see any number of those, and equally, they could just not listen to us and
Yeah.
carry on as they are. Right.
Right.
That's why the next couple weeks are going to be critical. We need to have every airsofter talk to their MP
Yeah.
right away.
So I guess if the you know, if you can't get rid of it completely, if they're not willing to you know, take airsoft out of that bill at all, you know, the only, I guess the best thing would be what I'm hearing, you know, and I guess if I was in your situation, I'd be like, okay, well, if they make it to where you have to transport it, you know, in a case or an orange case, whatever, you know, and the gun has to have orange tape on it, you know, until you get to the field and then you take it off and play normal or whatever. But yeah, I guess that would be probably the least
Invasive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, man. Okay. Well, you guys got a lot on your table right now with
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, that's good, man. Well, hopefully, you know, this will help get the word out. We'll, you know, I'll help post about this. Like I told you today, Bacon, this, we'll release this Monday. So, and, you know, I tell this to a lot of people, use your social media to promote this coming out. Okay.
Yep.
Not because I want to get somebody to listen to it, whatever. I mean, we do, you know, you want people to hear this message. So, you know, you're totally fine to use whatever, from my page, from, you know, whatever, you know, my Instagram, whatever, you can tag and then let people know, hey, this is coming out Monday. And then we'll, you know, you can get some information or whatever. And I'll have all of your stuff tagged in here, the ELR
That's
stuff.
great.
And then also all the political stuff too.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Well, any final thoughts from you guys?
I've talked lots, Craig. What do you think?
Not a whole lot. No, thanks for having us on here. No, it was a good talk. There's definitely lots of shit going on up here these days. Yeah, we can definitely keep you in the loop as things develop up here.
Yeah.
You want to be kept in the loop there?
Oh, definitely. I'll be watching it for sure. So I'm really glad, Bacon, you're you know, you're definitely involved and know what's going on a day-to-day with all the political stuff, with this bill coming up. So I'll be in touch for sure. Keep an eye on what's going on. And if, you know, hey, if we got an opportunity to do another, you know, if something new comes up and we have an opportunity to talk about it and get the word out again or whatever, you know, before something happens, I'm totally down for that as well.
That'd be great. You know, if, you know, for Americans watching this, I guess, if you can share information about what's going on as well, that'd be great, because, you know, you probably don't want the country to the north of you banning airsoft, because your
No.
politicians are going to look at that and go, hey, there's an idea.
Oh, for
Right?
sure.
We don't want that either, right? So
No, I mean, that's, you know, any kind of precedent that's set, no matter where it's at in the world, that's what, you know, they point to, I guess, you know, prove their point, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't want that either. And airsoft community is, is a worldwide community that we're all friends, you know, we're all comrades. So we don't want to see that go away for anyone.
absolutely
So,
not.
yeah, well, listen, I appreciate you guys being on for sure. I appreciate all the information, and tell everybody again where they can find your ELR stuff and information about the airsoft in Canada stuff.
So ELRairsoft.ca is our website for the shop. Savingairsoft.ca is Airsoft in Canada's website. On Facebook, it's Airsoft in Canada. You can find us under that. My Instagram is bacon_DW01. Craig, yours is?
Oh shit. I think it's Embro_05 or D.
DW05.
I can get it to you. Yeah, I can get it to you.
Awesome.
And then ELR Airsoft is the Instagram, right?
Yep. Yeah, we have that. Google even too. If you Google ELR Airsoft, the Instagram will come up, the Facebook, the website as well. Everything will be up there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for
All
having us.
right.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks
You guys
for
have
having
a
us,
good
man.
night.